Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to my channel Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new movie review, and today we're discussing a new action thriller directed by Guy Ritchie starring Jason Statham. We're talking about Wrath of Man, which I got the chance to check out courtesy of Miramax, and I'm really excited to let you all know what I thought about this new action thriller, and if you all should give it a watch over this coming weekend, all in this spoiler-free review. But before we dive into it, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you all can get the alert when I drop new reviews. It will mean the world to me if you all can like and share this review. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate all the support. And in those comments, let me know if this is a film you all were looking forward to checking out. And once you've seen it, let's discuss it. Your pros, your cons. Who was your favorite character in the film? What was your favorite chapter of the movie? And since we're talking Guy Ritchie, what is your favorite Guy Ritchie film? Let me know that in the comments below. So going into Wrath of Man, I gotta say, I wasn't initially that excited when I saw the first trailer, but it wasn't until like a couple weeks ago when we got the Red Band trailer where I'm like, okay, now I'm intrigued. This seems like the Guy Ritchie film I'm a fan of. This is the Jason Statham I'm a fan of. So here we are talking about it, starting off with my positives and starting with Guy Ritchie. This is something I always said about Guy Ritchie. No one can do what he does, right? He is in the same kind of, I think of Guy Ritchie, not in the same caliber, but just as far as a director, I think of him the same way I look at Martin Scorsese, Spike Lee, Quentin Tarantino, where love their films, hate their films. All their movies have a bit of personality, they have a bit of edge to them, and the same could be said about Guy Ritchie, and this film is no different. This is to be fair, this isn't the most groundbreaking story. It's a pretty basic story in regards to a man on revenge intertwined with a heist film, but it's the way that Guy Ritchie presents the story, unfolds certain reveals. It's the way that he tells the story that makes it very intriguing, and the way he introduces us to our main players in this film, starting off with the lead, Jason Statham, who plays Patrick H. Hill. Now, he is a character that was newly hired and responsible for moving hundreds of millions of dollars around Los Angeles each week, but secretly he is hunting for the people who is responsible for killing his son. Now, I do have an issue with H, who we'll talk about a little bit later. He's very one note, but it's the one note. It's the Jason Statham one note. It's the badass Jason Statham that we've come to love, or at least I come to love, in regards to how he handles his action, how he carries himself. This is a very basic character in a sense of, it's a throwback character. It's a simple character, a man of very few words. It takes me back to the 70s, the 80s, and 90s, where again, you have a badass character who's good at one thing, and that's kicking a lot of ass, and you get that with Jason Statham. And when you see who he is, you learn his true identity, you get to understand his motives. It adds another wrinkle and a more complexity and compelling nature to the story, especially when you see H going through the lengths to do what he wants to do to get his revenge. He is a man on a mission, and that mission is to find out who killed his son. And again, I thought H, again, I have my criticisms that I'll talk about a little bit later, but in regards to the one thing he does in this film consistently, he's a badass, ladies and gentlemen. And this, to me, is Jason Statham's audition. Not that he needs an audition, but this is him auditioning to be the, I want to say it, John Wick 4 and 5 villain. You're looking at it in Jason Statham, and the reverse goes for Keanu Reeves. This is a complete side note coming into Hobbs and Shaw. You heard it here first. But as I digress, we also get a character who I actually really enjoyed, played by an incredible actor, Holt McCallany as Bullet, a character we've seen before in a lot of Guy Ritchie's films. He's that one character that kind of fills you in with the exposition to kind of let you know what's going on, but he has his own agenda, and you have a great actor like Holt playing this role. I thought he was a really interesting, complex character. And then someone even like Jeffrey Donovan, who plays Jackson. Now, I don't want to get too deep into who Jackson is and his crew and how they get involved in the film, but when you get introduced to Jackson and his crew, more so in the second half of the film, you understand their motives, and I bought into their motives, and I really enjoyed how they were kind of integral into this film. And then just going to some other things that come to mind as far as positives, I thought the film had a great score, which Guy Ritchie brought in the same gentleman he worked with through a lot of his other films, Christopher Banstead. I thought that the score had its own tone, its own personality. It was very unsettling and made you kind of feel uneven, so I liked the score that the film had to offer, as well as I can't go without highlighting the film's action that I'll talk about in a second, but also the pacing of the film. film. But going back a little bit, talking about the action in this film reminded me, it's not to the caliber of these films, but it reminded me of kind of if Heat and The Town had a combination in this film. In regards to The Heat, there's a particular shootout that's really intense in this movie, and then referring it to The Town, the brutality and the heist nature of it kind of reminded me of those two films. Two great films, by the way. And then just kind of going back to a little bit touching upon the story. Again, a very basic story told within 2 hours, but it's the way that Guy Ritchie splits the story up into particular chapters. Now, this film is based upon I believe a 2004 French film, so this is a remake of a film, but it's the way that the film's kind of broken up into chapters, and we see the same situation being played out, but in different perspectives. And when you see those different perspectives, you kind of understand how these characters got involved into the story. So again, I was very impressed by, again, it's a very simple tale, but it's the way that the tale is being told. It's the storytelling elements that Guy Ritchie adds into this film that made it very engaging for me and entertaining as well. So going into some of my criticisms that I have with the film, I mentioned that my man Jason Statham, who I'm a fan of, he is a badass. He plays H in this film, but unfortunately, when you take away that one trait, the one main characteristic, the only characteristic that he has, there's not much else to the character. Now, you understand when you see the film, you understand why H is not expressive, why he doesn't have a lot of personality. It's understandable, but it made it hard for me to kind of root for his journey of revenge because you can't really relate to him because he doesn't have much of a personality, which is a little bit unfortunate. And another thing about this H character, and probably my biggest issue with H, I don't want to get into spoilers, obviously, but let's just say the way that he gets involved in the story was a little bit of a leap for me personally. And I'll just say when it comes to when you find out who he really is, I'll just say this. You don't see the CEO of McDonald's flipping burgers in a McDonald's restaurant, and I'll just leave it at that. Once you see the film, you'll know what I'm referring to. But going to a character that I just didn't buy into at all, and honestly, I'm not a fan of this actor. I'll just be honest. Scott Eastwood is in this film. He's not in it a lot, but he's in it enough to have an impact on the film. He plays Jan. He's associated with Jeffrey Donovan's character. And every time I see Scott Eastwood, I'm just being honest, I find all his performances to be dull, to be very generic, and I just don't buy into his character, and I didn't buy into his character in this film. And then lastly, Guy Ritchie, again, I mentioned up top, he has a style. He has a way that he brings things to the table. He has certain characters that you can look forward to in this film. And I thought this film was kind of missing a Vinnie Jones. It was missing a Hugh Grant type of character that brings a little bit of levity and brings kind of that fast-paced nature to Guy Ritchie films. Again, this is a much more serious film than what you might be used to in Guy Ritchie. It doesn't have that level of, there's a character like played by Josh Hartnett that plays, I can't think of the character's name, it's like Guy Sweat Dave or something like that. He tries to bring in some levity, but I didn't find Josh Hartnett to be that type of character that I'm normally look forward to in a Guy Ritchie film. So I thought that film was kind of missing that layer of levity that you might be, at least I'm accustomed to in some of my favorite Guy Ritchie films. So those are my pros, those are my cons. Before I give you my overall thoughts, make sure to like the video, share the video, and go ahead and leave your comments in the comment section. Of course, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, that way you don't miss any of my other content. With that being said, to give you all my overall score and my overall thoughts, this was a bit of a more serious film than what I come to expect from Guy Ritchie, but it still has the flair that you come to expect from his storytelling. This is a tale about greed, corruption, and revenge. It does feel a bit familiar at times, but it offers a welcome approach in the storytelling. Jason Statham does what he does best when it comes to action, but there's not much else to the character development. But overall, I still had a fun time with this film. So with that being said, I'm going to give Raft a Man a 3.5 out of 5. I had fun with the film, even though it didn't have like that type of character that I mentioned, like Vinnie Jones or Hugh Grant. It had great action. Again, heist meets The Town. I like the way that they kind of introduced the characters and the way it's split into the film. So overall, I recommend you all give this a watch over the weekend. If you're not available or not able to see the film in theaters, definitely something to keep an eye out for when it comes available on streaming, or if you can buy it on VOD, definitely something I recommend. So that's my thoughts on Raft the Man. Once you see the film, let me know again your favorite character, your favorite chapter, your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and go ahead and let me know your favorite Guy Ritchie film in the comments below. I'm a big fan of Man of Uncle, but also Snatch is one of my favorite films. But let me know yours in the comments. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, that way you don't miss any of my other content. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe. We'll see you in the next video.